Aaron was sentenced on the 30th. And I will say, actually, a very interesting recap of it is Tukey, the guy who has like the it's kind of like if Grover and Oscar the Grouch had a Muppet baby. And because it's like the guy's like, yay! But he looks like Grover, but he's got Oscar Grouch's color in him. I'm sure he's gonna be like, it's not exactly that. That's how I see it. Anyway, he came in there and he talked about, because he went through the sentencing hearing. And I think he's correct from what it sounds like. The way Nick and the way Kayla went up there, it sounded like she was talking about like she had been in captivity for 20 years, and it's like, you whipped your titties out. He took a picture of it and he shared it with somebody. Like, let's have some perspective on what this is. But apparently she's like, I can't go to St. Cloud. It's too traumatic. It's like, I would think losing your children and, being seen as a coke addict and a shitty parent and a horrible person in your community, that would make me not want to leave the house. But apparently she's like, I can't go anywhere because the steel's so man. And it just, you're giving Aaron so much power when you do that, whether or not you intend to or not. But it's, it's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. Yeah, and it was at Aaron's house, no less. Yes, the den of inequity. Not your house that you called a Haitian, not the Haitian refugee camp you called a house, but yes. Anyway, Aaron was sentenced, and we're going to go through that because, Yeah, nothing could be more embarrassing than her own actions at her husband's. I agree, but you know what? I guess, when you have no shame, there is no shame to be had. Yeah, I mean, yes, and she went to Stoney's. I know she was so terrified, but she went to where he like hangs out and people love him, and with a big old smile on her face. Like, I don't know. Maybe the benzos were working overtime. Who knows? Who knows? But anyways, guys, Aaron was sentenced, and we have the sentencing order, and it's actually, like I said, people are like, oh, well, is it a win? No, it's not a win. Anytime you walk into court and you end up with the jail sentence, I mean, sometimes can that be good? Yeah, but in this case, one good. Wasn't a win for the two. And once I finally got something wrong in this whole Rekieta Aaron saga, I finally got something wrong. I know before people are like, you get stuff wrong all the time. I still don't know what I get wrong all the time, but I'm sure they never tell you what you get wrong. But here's where I'll admit I got something wrong. I thought Aaron was going to walk out of there with no jail time, honestly. And he didn't. He didn't. So this is the state of Minnesota versus Aaron Michael Imholte. And, his birth date and all that fun stuff. Sentencing date, September 30th. Order of warrant of commitment. And commitment means, committed to jail. He had his case charges. He had the non-consensual dissemination charge as a felony. It got dismissed. The non-consensual dissemination of a private sexual image, misdemeanor, he was convicted of. So what were the terms of disposition? Meaning, how was the case disposed of? Or its sentence? And it's, the same thing. So what happened? Well, the level of sentence was a gross misdemeanor. The offense date was May 27, 2024. So for the sentencing for count 2, he is sentenced to 364 days in the Stearns County Jail. 349 days of that is stayed for 2 years, which is a very normal thing. They put a lot on the shelf and hang it over your head. He's to serve 15 days. The credit for time served amount is 2 days, which that is actually nice for the judge. The judge could have just said, you have to serve 15 days, and the judge could say that 2 days, I'm taking off of the 349 instead. That would be perfectly normal to do. That wouldn't be uncommon. I've had that happen to clients before where the guy served like 10 days in jail already. It's like, oh, you have to serve 10 days or 15 days. And like, judge, will that count towards the 15? The judge goes, no. He's got to serve 15 more. And you're like, but it happens. It happens sometimes. It happens. So the remaining 13 days are to be served in custody, meaning he's not going to get house arrest or anything like that. He's to turn himself in on or before October 17th, 2025 at 3 p.m. I know Aaron is trying to get this set up where he can do like just the weekends. And then from there, and Aaron still hasn't acknowledged it. Are you going to be able to convert to Islam on 2-day installments? I don't know. But it'll be the steel toe a la show. It'll be the a la toe steel show. But anyways, yeah, he's going to have to do it. It sounds like he's trying to get it. I think that finally got set up, or we're going to find out soon if that's happened, but he's trying to get like on the weekends. And honestly, that's a normal thing you try to do. What can you serve? As minimal disruption to things out there. So, and Aaron's able to do the one thing Nick couldn't do. He got away from his kids. And I'm sure Nick's like, wait, maybe I want to go to jail too. So the monitoring was ordered on September 30th. He's placed on supervised probation for 2 years. And that's different than unsupervised. He's not just going to be able to go about his days and around. He's going to have to check in with his PO routinely. They might make him come in and drop, a urine screen. They're going to have appointments, once a month, once a quarter. We don't really know what the status of that is, but he's going to be on supervision for 2 years. He has to pay all program fee and supervision fees. I still think this is something, when people get placed on probation, they make you pay for it. And I still think that's illegal. I still think it's unconstitutional. I'm not choosing to go on this. You're putting me on this. Why do I have to pay for these programs? Like, that's not something you should be forced to do. You should not be forced to do that. I mean, is he going to have to register as a sex offender? No, he is not. No, he is not. And ultimately, guys, here's the big thing, though. Jail time for any nonviolent crime is... Here's the thing, though. Aaron's not being jailed for the crime. It's because he was around with the terms of release and his terms of bond. Sure, you could sit there and say Gino him, or you could say Schizo Sean. It's got to be the amazing kind of life where you fly across the country just to A-log somebody. You can make fun of them for all of that, but Aaron put himself in a situation where these retards could exploit it and use it against him. And that's the problem. He set himself up to let these guys him over. So at some point, you did this to yourself. You should, like the idea, like, I didn't know these guys were going to come try to me like that. I mean, I'm surprised, like, he wasn't expecting that. Somebody would come try to the show. And then Gino, Gino, with friends like that, you don't really need enemies. And then, Gino's on talking to Kevin Brennan and them and like, oh yeah, we're around and chucking it up. And he's admitting this shit on camera after Aaron gets sentenced. It's like, why would you do that to somebody? So what's he got to do? He's got to follow all instructions of his probation officer. That's a standard. That's a standard term of probation. There's going to be a bunch of other ones. Like you have to get permission to sometimes leave the county, depending on how restrictive your probation is. But generally, you can't leave the state of Minnesota without permission. If you run into law enforcement, if you have encounters with law enforcement, you have to report it within 72 hours. There are quite a few terms and conditions of probation. He follows all recommendations of his evaluations. Now, why do judges say this? This is important because when you are being sentenced, a judge may not know what to do on things. So, for example, if you need if you have a mental health problem, the judge is not a mental health professional. And even let's say they happen to be one and they're a doctor of psychiatry. Ultimately, they haven't screened you. They can't diagnose you. They want you to get an evaluation. You have to follow all the recommendations of it. Because that's their way of saying, I'm going to leave it to the professionals, but whatever the professionals tell you, you have to comply with. Get a mental health screening, a drug and alcohol assessment. Whatever they recommend for you, you must do. He has to contact probation within 24 hours of sentencing. And you're going to schedule time to sit with them and talk to them. Complete the comprehensive assessment. This is the comprehensive diagnostic assessment as directed by the agents. What is this meant for? Well, they're going to do everything. They're going to assess him for everything and figure out what's he need, what's going on. Does he have an education? Do we need to get him his GED? Does he have to do blah? Does he have to blah, 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 blah? It's going to figure out what they can do there. Cognitive skill training. So such as things like thinking for a change as directed. Now, what is thinking for a change? We talked about this before, and I forget which other cases. It may even been on Nick's thing. Thinking for a change is a very popular programs in jails and prisons. Number one, it doesn't require anything. It's like minimal materials. And basically, Think for a Change is a lot of people who commit crimes are really impulsive. They're impulsive. They don't think things through. They don't think about, well, if I do X, what does that mean that's going to happen to me next week? And then the week after that, what are the problems going to be for me down the road? That's what Thinking for a Change is. It teaches you to think for a change instead of just reacting or going off of impulsivity or your emotions. No. Hey, if I punch this guy, I'm going to have problems. If I do drugs, I'm going to have a problem. And it just teaches you to think about that shit. Is he going to have to complete that exactly? I don't know. He's going to have to complete some program. And for somebody like Aaron, I mean, obviously, yeah, he's a retard, but he's not like criminally retarded. And there are some people out there with Thinking for a Change and programs like that. We have to teach you how to act like a civilized human being. There are a lot of people out there who don't have that training and that thought because they were, raised feral, basically. No contact with the victims. I mean, that's a very obvious one. Now, this one's going to be real tough for Aaron. Defendant is prohibited from directly or indirectly contacting, talking about, disparaging, and harassing the victims online, social media, live events, and or during any online broadcast show he participates in or has control of. So it's not only just his show when he's on, but for example, if he goes on anybody's show and somebody starts talking about Kayla, like this could really be dangerous for Aaron. That's going to be really tough for Aaron. It's going to be really tough for him because, are you going to be able to go on any show where you bring Gino on, he starts running his mouth? That's going to be a violation. I would consider that a violation. Any show he participates in. Remain law-abiding. That's a pretty obvious one. Don't break the law, asshole. Maddie's saying, so Aaron can't say anything. Aaron may be better off just deleting the word, like his entire vocabulary of any words with the word that begin with the letter K. Supply a DNA sample, which in Ohio, that's only for felonies. You have to do a DNA sample. That's weird in Minnesota. They make you do it for a misdemeanor, but I can't do it. Nothing about that. Sign all releases of information. So if Aaron's engaged with counseling or treatment somewhere as part of these recommendations and evaluations and assessments, they're going to say, you need this, you need that. So guess what? The probation department has to have access to that. Number one, to make sure you're going. Number two, are you actually going and complying with the recommendations? Well, those people won't just give the information to the probation department. He has to sign releases of information. And that's 100% a common thing. And some people fight over that. But they're going to get it to make sure you're complying. The fines and the fees, though. Fine of $50. That's right, chat. KNUs are mooning right now. Let me tell you. The KNUs are mooning. The criminal traffic surcharge, that's not uncommon. The law library fees, well, we thank you for the attorneys in your communities. Thank you for participating in the law library fees. The victim services assessment, that is not restitution to Kayla, but that's some shit. That's how they kind of fund victim services in states, is by finding the shit out of you and making it go towards that, which I think is bullshit, but hey, whatever. They don't talk to me when it comes to that stuff. So they talk about the financial summary, the fines, the fees, and the dues. $1,139, chat. That's like 3.5 show goals right there. That's a lot of StreamYards, PayPal, Venmo. That is a lot right there. Fire PA saying, wow, jail be expensive. Well, this isn't even that. This isn't even that part of it. This is just his fines and court costs. So this amount may not reflect all payments or credit or restitution owed. You can pay your fines online, which I think is actually something that's very helpful. If you don't pay the entire amount, this could be referred to collections if you fail to make any scheduled payment, and collection costs will be added. And I think this part here is bullshit. Like the court's selling off your costs like that. No. Like the court, no. If you owe it, you The court shouldn't be allowed to do that. I think that's another thing the court shouldn't be allowed to do. The government shouldn't be allowed to do that. If the government's all about wanting to collect payments, it should have to suffer and eat the debts. So, and it says you have the right to contest a referral collection based on the inability to pay. So, for example, if you're just broke, for example, if for whatever reason you don't have a job or the inability to pay, you can say, "I need more time. I'm working on this. I'm doing this," and yeah, that is an option. So, signed by the judge, and that is it for Aaron. This is what Aaron has to do instead of serving his jail time. No, 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 no. This is on top of it, guys. No, no, no. He's got to go to he's got probation. But he's got local confinement on top of that. Local confinement can be a probation sanction as well. Even if your case is going to probation, you can be sent to jail as an initial part of your probation. So no, he's got local confinement on top of his other probation conditions. Those are two they're stacked up on each other. It's not either or. He has to go to jail at some point and serve 13 days and also abide by all the terms of probation. So it's not a separate thing there. It's not a separate thing. Yes, Rex Start. He's like, he come into court. Well, Your Honor, well, he's like, yeah, so Judge, we had a rough week last week. We couldn't meet the goal. Any time. There were no Streamlabs. There were no PayPals. There were no Venmos. There were no Super Chats or Rebel Rants, Judge. I'm sorry. He will violate, maybe. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, he's going to jail. So is that a win? I don't think that's a win. I think he was looking at no jail before, when he initially worked out the deal. So it got worse. I don't consider that a win. Now, is the loss been minimized quite a bit? Yeah. It also sounds like because of some good time behavior and the way they do things in Minnesota, he's only going to do maybe a total of 8 days. I don't know if that's true or not, or it's been confirmed yet. And if you could serve those 8 days over alternating weekends, then yeah, I mean, once again, you're taking that L and you're making it smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. It's still an L. It's still an L. Did Kayla cry? It sounds like she did. I mean, I don't know. Once again, it's all horse shit. This is an unironic Baldo victory. Yeah, it was. I mean, yeah. I'm sure Nick feels like he slayed the dragon on this one. It's like, I mean, but if this is the win you've got, it's like, man, you need some better wins out there. Aaron wants to split it up for a weekend so he can get strip searched more. Yeah, Aaron's gonna walk in there and be like, he's gonna walk into the cell and he's like, hold on, let me squat down and cough, sir. They're like, sir, we have a scanner for that. And Aaron's like, I don't want to risk that. He's like, I like the old methods. He just starts coughing like duck walks as soon as he walks into the jail. Oh my God, that'd be so funny.